You know how women love to control others, right?
Isn't that human? Don't we all love to control others?
No, men don't try to control.
Oh no.
They're naturally
Okay.
in control.
When times get tough, you need to get down. No need to look backward. Put your feet on the ground. Stand up. Stand up.
Welcome to the Father State. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. The Father State is on Patreon, so click the Patreon link in the description to support our work. And in advance, thank you, folks. I have with me a very, very mamma mia interesting guest today. I have with me Katherine Woodward Thomas. She is the New York Times best-selling author of Conscious Uncoupling, 5 Steps to Living Happily Even After. She's also a licensed marriage and family therapist. Katherine, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, Jesse. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. You might not be aware, but August is Men's History Month. So happy Men's History Month.
Thank you. I was not aware of that, and I can't believe I've gotten through the whole month without celebrating.
That's right. This is our 4th year celebrating men.
Okay, I'm all in.
Right on. And so I read that you were born to teenage parents and that was a tough upbringing for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think a lot of times people ask me, when did conscious uncoupling begin? When did you first think of it? But I think that the things that we create, that we really create from the best part of ourselves that want to create goodness for people, alleviate suffering. A lot of times they come from the things that we've been through in the past that have been really tough. And my own parents had a very difficult divorce. And part of how I explain that to myself is how young they were. My mother was, barely 18. They got married because they had to. It was back in the 50s. You got somebody pregnant, you married them. So,
Absolutely.
right. So that was the conditions. They were both in college. They were struggling. They had no money, and they were kind of, ill-suited and ill-matched. And then they when they fell apart badly. And so I ended up living in the tension of the anger that was unresolved between the two of them for years. And then when I was 10, I completely lost connection with my father, which really crushed me because he's a great guy and I
Yeah,
loved him deeply. Fathers are not disposable at all.
that's right.
Amen. So,
100%.
yeah. But I think when we pray, I know you're a reverend, I know you're a man of faith. We pray, we give it to God, we do our best to heal ourselves, and then we pay forward the
Yeah.
healing and the light that we've gotten. So that's really where conscious uncoupling came from. When Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin popped it into the lexicon, but obviously I was, proud of the fact that they made that popular, and it kind of opened up a new possible way to do this better than the common way to do it. But I think for me, it was a completion of that old story.
Yeah.
I found a way to make meaning of it. And I wrote it really for people who just have a broken heart and who are unable to get over the resentment and are struggling with unresolved hurt. And I'm a psychotherapist, so I understand that there's a difference between grief and what we call prolonged grief or complicated grief. And that's when you really don't get over it
Yeah.
for a long time.
Amazing.
And people can really live lesser lives in the aftermath of a bad breakup. So it was my offering to just kind of help us to get through what I think is one of the worst traumas that some people will ever have to go through.
How old was your father at the time that you were born? You say your mother was 18. How old was your father?
And she had just turned 18. So she got pregnant when she was 17. And she had me when she was 18. I think he was 21.
Oh, okay. Did you ever see him again after the divorce?
Not until I was grown.
Oh, okay. How
I
did
mean,
that go?
I did see it after the divorce. I'd see him once a year. And then when I was 10, I lost contact with him because she made a deal with him that he would give up parental rights for her third husband. Right? So it took
Whoa.
her a while to get it right. So
What
she
a
ended up,
mess.
it was a mess. So, So he left and he married a woman, back in the 60s. He married this woman in the early 60s who only married him based on the agreement that I was never invited to their home.
Whoa.
Because she was immature. She didn't like that he had a child with another woman. She would
Yeah.
not accept it. It's all understandable from a human perspective, but people were they were just immature, really. But for me, I didn't see him till I was 18. And then he's actually a great guy. We have a very good relationship today.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, I'm
Did you
happy to
and
say.
and how is your relationship with your mother? Did you ever get over that with her?
I did. I have forgiven my mother.
You told her that?
I did, and I will tell you something. It happened recently because she thought that my next book, I don't know where she got this in her mind, but she thought I was writing a parenting book. And I'm sure she was horrified at that idea because she admits that she was a terrible parent. She was
Right.
too young to be a parent, and she feels bad about it now. So I said, "No, I'm not going to be a parent. I write a parenting book." I said, I'm a horrible parent," is what I said to her, which I'm really not. But every parent feels like, "Oh my gosh, I did this wrong. I did this wrong. I did this wrong." But I said, "I'm not a parenting expert." And she just spontaneously said, "Oh wow, well, do you forgive me for what a bad parent I was?" And Jesse, out of my mouth, I said, "Of course I forgive you." It was so authentic and so real because I'd been praying about it.
Yeah.
I'd been praying and I'd been really working it through. When I did that, it was like she just melted. Like years of her being mad at herself just melted off of her. It changed our relationship completely when I said that.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
so are you over the trauma of all that?
Yes, I would say that I am. I mean, I still have um here's my work, right? So I still have what I call missing development. If you had a lot of PTSD from childhood, you have to work with your own nervous system as an adult, right? So you have to learn how to calm yourself down like a practice when you get overly amped up for small things. Also, there were certain ways that I expected relationship to go because of that level of kind of multiple traumas of people in and out. So I had kind of an automatic sometimes, "Oh my gosh, he's going to leave if he's mad at me." But I've learned how to work with myself and to get outside of my own reactivity and even, calm myself down, soothe myself, tell truth to myself so that I can respond from a more adult place.
Right.
And I can, and also some of the things that happen to us when we get really traumatized in our youth is that we actually miss learning certain things that make relationships go well.
I see. And
So that's a lot what I'm doing now.
nice. And so you've been married. You've been married before, right?
I have been married before
How many times?
one time,
And
and I
so
have a partner now.
you have a partner? Oh,
I
you
have a
live with
partner,
a woman or a man?
a man.
Oh, don't say partner, say boyfriend.
Well, he
Because when
lives
you
with
say
me.
partner, I think you're living with a woman. What the?
Oh, no, 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 no. Well, no, but we're older now, so we're in our 60s. I have my biological daughter. I have a bonus daughter, a girl I brought into our family. So I want my assets to go to my children. So we're not going to legally marry, and because he would lose a pet. There's things, complexities to that.
Wow, that's amazing.
But he'll refer to me as his wife sometimes.
Oh, okay. And
Okay.
so with your husband, did you do to your husband what your mother did to your father?
That's a really good question because that's very common. No, I was conscious enough to not do that. And as a matter of fact, I mean, so here's what happened. I had very toxic, difficult, challenging patterns for years in relationships. And I had a particular pattern of going after mostly unavailable people,
Yeah.
people who are kind of on their way elsewhere, not available to commitment. Was extremely painful because I really wanted a relationship. I wanted to be a mother. And it wasn't until I was even in my early 40s that I really figured out how to, what I call, create a miracle for myself. And I did that. And through actually setting an intention to create a future that was unlike anything I had ever experienced or lived. And then kind of leaning in prayer and asking God, who would I need to be in order to be a woman who's engaged by my 42nd birthday to a wonderful man. And I started to get a lot of guidance, and I started to take the guidance and change myself and change my ways. That became the calling in the one process. I did manifest a wonderful, beautiful husband, beautiful daughter, and wrote a book about it that became a national bestseller.
Yeah.
I was teaching thousands of people, and then after a decade, we got divorced. So that was a big, trauma, not just for myself, but for people who were following me,
Right.
because we all so believe in happy ever after. And that wasn't supposed to be part of the program. Nobody who's getting married really thinks that they're going to one day be on the wrong side of that 50% divorce
Why
divide.
did you divorce after so long being together?
I think it was really my own immaturity, Jesse. I now understand, and I did a lot of work. This is conscious uncoupling, is a lot of self-reflection on
Right.
how you were the source of the breakdown, right? So I now understand that in my home when I was growing up with my single mother, she was a working woman, and I was alone a lot. And she was very stressed out. So I was very neglected. I was very under
Yeah.
parented,
Yeah.
right? Which is typical for that situation.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that when you get married, that is not the relationship. It's just the contract to create the relationship. You actually have to keep really bringing yourself to engage everything, to bring that person into your world, to communicate about difficult things. And I think that both Mark and I kind of avoided difficult conversations. We avoided conflict. We didn't really create a we life.
Oh, I
And
see.
right. And we were I mean, we were parents of a young child, and he worked the night shift and I worked the day shift. So we really drifted apart. And plus, when I was teaching so many, I mean, I had thousands of students coming to me because, with the wonders of online learning, you're touching thousands of people
Right.
sitting in your studio. So we get to have an impact on people. And I was doing that, and it really started to change me. And I somehow didn't bring him along for the ride. So we really drifted apart. I almost drifted right out of the marriage, truthfully.
Amazing. Do you
So,
regret working once you got married and had a child? Do you regret not staying home and just being a wife and a mother to his child?
wow, what a question. No one has ever asked me that. And I know that you are an advocate of that kind of a switch in a mother's life. I have never thought about that because I've been a career woman since I've been so young.
Right.
And the contract that Mark and I had, the ideal that we had, is that he wanted me to work. He supported me to write my book. My book has really changed a lot of people's lives. It's actually really made a difference. And I have always felt that it was my calling from God. So I don't think so. I think that there are things that I wish I had done differently and better, but that is not one of them.
Which is the best way for a woman once she get married to stay home and watch over the children or to work?
I think it's probably not as either or, but I do think that we are erring on the side of thinking that our children need less than they do.
Yeah.
I agree with you that children need a tremendous amount of care and a lot of attention, a lot of consistency. And sometimes we kind of, our lives are busy and big, and that gets lost. And I think that the children are suffering for
I
it.
say to men now, because I've talked to so many people over the years, that they should never marry an educated woman because she doesn't make for a good wife or mother. She believes that she's equal to a man, so she's unwilling to stay home and be a wife and a mother. Am I wrong?
You're just different. You're just different. I don't.
uh, what the?
I don't really think that that is I don't think that that's anything that we, I mean, look, you can feel that way and you can believe that way, and I'm sure you can back it up with certain very good
Yeah.
reasons why you feel that way. I'm also very practical and I look at the culture. Economically, first of all, we're not living in a world that we were in the 50s where you could live well on one salary, right? So the world isn't really structured like that. I do think that there's a way that men and women do lead differently, and that what is needed in the world right now is more about relatedness and care and connectivity. And so I think that women are being called to leadership. So it is a dilemma. And many women, recognize that it's hard to have it all. And that very often, if you try and have it all, the children suffer. So a lot of women are choosing not to have children now.
Amazing. I'd rather for them not to get married, have children, rather than sacrifice their children's lives on their own ego needs,
Hmm.
because the kids will suffer.
Well, what do you think about the men who are staying home with their children?
I think they're beta males. They have allowed the woman to turn them into a girl.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I,
Because it's not in the nature of a man to to be home with the children. It's in the nature of the woman to take care of his children for him. And
yeah.
so I notice a lot of men are staying home, but they becoming girls, and that doesn't work either.
Well,
Am
I
I
will
right about
say,
that?
I will say that I think the beta men are getting a bit of a short change. First of all, I can't remember the t statistics, Jesse, but I think it's something like there's really only there's one alpha to like every 10 betas. Okay, so I'm like in the beta man camp. I like the beta men. I think they make great husbands.
You prefer a
Um,
beta over an alpha?
Well, now I'm now with a man who is what I call a soft alpha.
A beta.
He's a soft alpha. He knows how to dance between alpha and beta,
So
and
he
he
know
can
how to
organize.
be a girl and a guy?
Yes, he does. He's very
What a
nurturing.
beta.
But my heart is happy with him because I love that he knows how to nurture, and he can he's a very masculine man, but he's got a tender heart. He's a very loving man too.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm happy.
So let me just add, and I won't tell anyone.
Okay, don't tell anybody. This is between you and me now,
In the
right?
privacy of your own heart,
Yeah.
which do you take a beta, but which do you really prefer, an alpha male or a beta male?
Truthfully,
Yeah,
beta all the way.
really.
Yeah.
But women control betas.
Um, Control is an interesting word. I mean, control has kind of a negative connotation, but you might say the alpha male controls women if you're going to use
Right,
that
they do
word.
it, and he's supposed
How
to.
about we just don't feel like we're being controlled? How's that? We feel free to be ourselves and to be fully expressed.
But would you rather be controlled or control a beta male? Would you rather
Um,
be controlled by an alpha
well,
male
here,
or be controlled by or control a beta male?
okay, so you're talking about, so here's the thing, Jesse. Relationships are changing. And you are absolutely spot on correct that one person is in charge of the relationship
Yeah.
inside of a traditional role-based relationship. What many people who are feeling, and these are the people that tend to come to me, are yearning for what we might call a soul-based relationship. That's your best friend, your your equal. Both people are holding power. Both people are holding power in that relationship, and it's requiring that we grow ourselves capable of being able to be in that kind of relationship. But that's really the ideal, and it is a new form of relationship. We've
Yeah.
never had these ground rules before.
That is so interesting. And I really want to ask you about your best-selling book, The 7 Weeks to Attract the Love of Your Life. But I want to
Yeah.
say is the reason for that is that women don't know what they want. And so it's up to an alpha male to guide her, lead her, and to give her what she needs because they think they want to be equal to a man. They think they want to lead, but because it's not in their nature to lead, when the beta male give up that leadership, the woman is unhappy about it because her nature need the man to lead her.
Uh-huh.
Am I right?
I don't quite agree with that perspective. I think it is a very traditional perspective. I'm not sure that that's actually something that most women would relate to.
I know. That's why I think it's so messed up. But I got to ask you this. Are you a Christian?
I am a
Do
Christian.
you have anger?
Anger. Do I have anger? Yeah. Yeah, I do. But anger, look, anger can be either used destructively or it can be used constructively.
How can it
Um,
be used constructively?
well, the civil rights movement was anger used constructively. So you're pointing anger in the direction of change. Anger is the reclamation of rights if you've been violated. So you have to, be a good steward of anger. A lot of damage is done in the name of anger. Even if people who are kind of repressing anger, then they make themselves sick. So you can harm yourself or others. But I think anger, well navigated, is also information about things that need to evolve and change. And if something unfair has happened, it's human to feel angry about that.
But if anger is good, how do you explain that your mother traumatized you with her anger and caused you to become like her, and then you traumatize your daughter with your anger and cause her to become like you? And nobody is happy with anger, but I notice that when they overcome anger and they have perfect love, it's
Yeah,
all people have peace when they have perfect love, but when they
yeah.
have anger, they have no peace.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a beautiful subject for us to lean into. It is one of the seven deadly sins, anger. And I think that, we have to really be mindful when we do feel anger, but also Jesus said you have to forgive 70 times seven. And
Right,
that means it's not just an instant decision. No, I'm not going to be angry at that person anymore. You got to work something through.
right.
And right, and the working through is about, okay, well, what's my part? And what do I need to change about how I show up? And where did I give my power away to that person? Where am I giving my power away to that person? A lot of times if you're mad at somebody, you're kind of now giving all your power to the other person to determine
Absolutely.
your peace of mind,
Yeah. That's why
right?
Jesus said that go and forgive and I will forgive you. So when like for example, your mother traumatized you, she could not help it because she had been traumatized. And once you realize you became like her and you go and say, "Hey mother, I'm sorry for resenting you for
Yeah.
traumatizing me. I become like you and I now understand you couldn't help yourself." Then Jesus will forgive you when you forgive her and you will no longer have anger and you will
Yeah.
have peace, and that's more powerful than anger.
Yeah.
Isn't that deep?
Beautiful.
That's
Yeah, it's deep.
amazing,
It's
huh?
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I became like my mother.
Well, who do you think you got your anger from? It didn't come from you.
Oh, well, I mean, I get angry about all sorts of
I
things,
know, but you were not born with anger. Your mother imposed her will, and you became like her when you were a kid.
Well, I used to be angry. I think I was more sad, truthfully,
Yeah.
about what happened in my childhood. And when I really started to look at it, I mean, here's the thing. When I was maybe 18 or something, I developed an eating disorder.
Yeah.
I started when I was 14.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was in my 20s, I was almost non-functional because I had such severe addiction to binge eating, and then I'd starve myself. I was almost non-functional. So I went to 12-step programs for a long time and sat in those rooms. And that's how I learned how to deal with anger, how to take responsibility for my part, how to make amends to people, how to forgive myself, how to forgive others, and live in a way that was more in integrity with my soul than kind of captured by reactive processes. An addiction is just a reaction to,
Amazing. Well,
yeah,
last thing about it, once you overcome that anger, it's impossible. Once you forgive, your mother and your father for not protecting you,
Yeah.
God will forgive you. It'll be impossible to be depressed or anorexic or suicidal because you have peace. He would take that spirit away from you. You'll never have to be concerned about that.
Let me tell you a story about this, okay? So when I was doing Calling in the One, one of the things I was praying every day was, what would I have to give up in order to be engaged by so the commitment I made was to be engaged by my 42nd birthday. It was 8 months away, no prospects for a husband. It was like a crazy thing to
Yeah.
say, right? But then I just would pray every day, say, okay, well, what would I need to let go of, God, in order to be who I would need to be
Yeah.
for that to happen? And one of the things that I saw was I had to let go of my anger at a former boyfriend. And boy, that was tough for me because what had happened was so unfair. We had a nonprofit together. It was my idea. I brought it to him. It was this gorgeous project we did down on Skid Row with people who were getting better from homelessness, and we were both musicians, so they were bringing songwriters and stuff down. Anyway, when we broke up, the project stayed with him, and then he wasn't doing anything with it, so it was dying. The
Right.
project was dying.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at him about that. And I couldn't forgive. I was trying to forgive and I couldn't forgive. I was trying. So I was praying for like days about it. And one night I went out for a walk and I'm standing outside. I'm looking up. It's the middle of winter. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you've had an experience like this, but I felt like I was surrounded by a host of angels. I just got transported to another state of mind, and I felt like there were angels surrounding me, and they spoke to me not like an actual voice, but just as a deeper knowing. And what they said to me is this, and this is about forgiveness. They said, "You are right that a great debt is due you, but if you keep holding on to him to get restitution for the debt, you're blocking us from giving you your due."
Amazing. That's
And
amazing.
and then I was able to let it go. I just let it go. When I let it go, I suddenly started to see all of the ways I had given my power away to him, the ways I didn't really want to be responsible for my own organization. So just kind of gave it to him. It was, and I saw how it was really my responsibility, what had happened. And because I let go of him as the source of the restitution, all these blessings started to come in one
Nice.
after another. So I do think that, God knows well all of the things that have been done to us,
Yeah.
and that if we can just take our energy off of that person. By the way, that man became a very good friend of mine. He's no longer with us, but I helped him even in his transition. He was a good friend to the day he died.
Amazing.
So
So, have you apologized to your daughter for imposing your anger upon her?
I have, well, imposing my anger. I don't know that my daughter felt that I was imposing my anger, but I think that she did feel that she would have liked more of my attention.
Yeah.
And I have said I really am grieved about that. And I have made amends because I'm a big fan of amends. It's not just an apology.
Right.
I like making amends. You do it differently to the best of your ability, either with that person or you pay it forward to other people. But I have given my daughter a lot more of my time. She is the biggest priority. She's in college now, and she actually needs just as much support as she did when she was in elementary school.
So you did to her what your mother did. Your mother didn't spend time with you, and likewise, you didn't spend time with your daughter, according to
I,
the
s-
daughter.
yeah, I spent more
Right.
time with my daughter than my mother did, so I was an improved version, but not to the point where I wish that I had.
I gotta ask you about your book. You wrote a national bestseller called um, "Calling in the One: 7 Weeks to Attract the Love of Your Life," and that was released back in 2004. What did you do to attract your first love of your life?
My husband, I call him.
Right,
By
right.
the way, I just rewrote that book because I've worked with so many people now. Um, I started with kind of an outrageous intention, an unreasonable intention for sure. Because as I said, I'd had difficult patterns in love, I had back when I was 18, my high school boyfriend proposed marriage. I was too young, so I said no, but I had not had a proposal in all those years. And I was wondering what was wrong with
You're like, what
me.
the?
What's wrong with me? I think, I bathe every day. I'm a nice person. I think I'm kind of attractive. Anyway, so I just couldn't get that part of my life together. I was making very bad choices. And but I set an intention to be engaged by my 42nd birthday. And as I said, I started to live into that future. So the first thing I did is set an unreasonable intention. The second thing is instead of running out to find love, I went within to try and really see clearly how I was the one that was building barriers against it and pushing people away unknowingly. As much as I wanted a relationship, I was not really available for one. And I did house cleaning. I did literal house cleaning. I actually created in my home, space in my closet for someone to put their things. I like really I got rid
What?
of old love letters. I cleaned out the clutter.
So you
Uh,
wrote
de-
love letters as though you were writing to a man?
no, I said I did do that actually too, but I said I gave away old love
Oh, I
letters.
got
Like
you.
I just
Okay.
cleaned out my space, right?
Yeah.
And created my environment to be a welcoming place for someone to come in. One of my favorite stories about this is Della Reese when she was still with us, back in her
Uh,
60s.
Yeah.
She once told a story that she was ready to find her next husband. So she started putting two placemats out on the table every night and setting for table for two for dinner.
Right.
And she'd walk in the house and she'd open the door at the end of the day. She'd say, "Hi, honey, I'm home,"
What
even though
the?
she was living alone. And so, and before she knew it, she had that husband. So, so I think there is something about, really training your mindset, getting your environment ready. But mostly, Jesse, I was doing a lot of internal work.
Yeah.
And I had
That's
to go back,
important.
yeah, I had to go back to the part of me that, I was so shattered when my father let go of parental rights
Yeah.
and didn't say goodbye or anything. I was so devastated by losing connection with him when I was a kid that I just kind of closed my heart. And what I saw was I internalized that as somehow I wasn't valuable because he owed child support. So I internalized in my little 10-year-old brain, my father sold me for $5,000
Yeah.
because that's what he owed. And I wasn't very valuable. And I just never wanted to get hurt like that again. So I had you know, all this trauma,
The
really as a
worst
way
thing
to,
that can happen to kids is to lose their fathers. When they're turned away from their fathers, they're turned away from the light and it just become dark for them.
I felt not valuable. I felt unprotected. I
Yeah.
felt uncared for and unloved. It is a terrible thing. Now, my father, I really know that he loves me.
Yes.
We
All
have a
fathers
beautiful
love their children.
relationship. They
Eh,
he did back then. I've talked to him a lot about it. He said, "Well, your mother and I were warring so much. I thought it would be easier for you if I
Yeah.
just let go of parental rights and let your stepfather adopt you." But my stepfather ended up being an alcoholic and
What a mess.
just not someone who was going to be able to do that well.
Yeah. So you cleaned out your closet, you wrote letters, you got rid of old letters, and you still ended up with the wrong man.
Well, I wouldn't call Mark the wrong man.
The
I
first
mean,
the husband, right?
yeah, my husband, yeah,
Right.
he's a wonderful man,
So why'd
actually.
you guys divorce then if he's wonderful?
Well, because we just, as I was sharing before, I made a lot of mistakes in the marriage, and we never really bonded it down. We never bonded our relationship in the way that we would have needed to.
Right.
So we chose to get divorced. The saving grace was that we did it with so much compassion and kindness. And that ended up becoming conscious uncoupling. But it's interesting, Jesse, because we have this idea inside of happily ever after that if a relationship ends before one or both people die, that it is a failure of love. But my life is devoted to to really alleviating suffering and to helping us all to become more loving people, really inside of a devotion, a Christian devotion
Yeah.
to God.
Yeah.
And that marriage, not only did that marriage give me my daughter, that marriage helped me to write 2 books that have gone out and blessed hundreds of thousands of people. So I don't think of the marriage as a failure.
So did you initiate the divorce?
I did.
Was that hard to do?
It was very hard to do.
I noticed that. I read a report that today women are initiating more divorces than men are. What's
Yeah, and
wrong with the
women
women?
women initiate about 68% of divorces. But I'll tell you,
What?
you're kind of on the warpath with women holding equal power to men. I got it.
You know
Um,
why? Because
why?
it's not in the nature of a woman to lead. Women were created to follow, not to lead. So when you put them in a leadership position, whether it's in the home, at work, or in the cotton field, or wherever, they end up making it worse because it's not in their nature to lead. They're created to follow.
Well,
Am I right?
I don't agree with that.
But that's
And
what God said.
well, so that was an interpretation back then, but I don't think God is static. Hang on one second. I don't think God is static. So I live in a world that's ever evolving, and I don't think that that's what God is generating
But
right
his
now.
principle, he said that he's not going to change one iota, one dot of his
That's true.
word. And that human being may change and he'll just let them suffer, but he's not going to change. So his words were the same then and
Yeah.
always. They're never going to change.
Yeah.
So he said it then, and so he
Yeah.
still mean it.
Yeah. Well, I can't argue with that. I understand that as one way of seeing it. I think that what the world needs right now is a different kind of leadership, which we might call a deeper level of relatedness, a deeper level of empathy and understanding between all cultures. I think women are more equipped for that kind of leadership.
No, they don't have it. How can they be equipped?
Well, I don't know. You're talking to somebody who has had the privilege of leading hundreds of thousands of people, and I'm a
Amazing.
woman. So I'm living it.
So I got to ask, I say that women don't have love. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
But
And just notice, I haven't said you're wrong about anything. I just said you're different, or that's one interesting way to see it. But yeah, I don't know. You have to explain where you're getting that from.
women have emotion, and that comes from an illogical mindset because they have anger, and anger awaken a false feeling of love. Because Satan is a woman's god, right? She has this ego, and so they have anger, and in that anger, they have a false sense of love. Love comes from above, from God through Christ, through the man, through the woman, to the children. And that love that
Yeah.
comes from below, it destroys. It doesn't give life.
Well,
Eh,
I think there's the beautiful archetype of Mother Mary, or the beautiful archetype of Kuan Yin, and these are more the feminine principle of God.
But Jesus even yelled at Mary and told her to go sit down. Remember?
To go sit down.
Right. Remember, when you say Mother Mary, you mean Jesus' mother?
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, he was busy in the temple, and she was all nosy, trying to get in his business. And he was like,
Yeah.
I'm in the temple. Go away. Because she was all in the way. Remember that?
I am not remembering that, no.
But you do agree that women don't have love, they receive love, right?
Um, I don't know. I mean, love, you have to ask what the definition of love
Yeah, I'm about
is.
to ask you, what is love?
Yeah, what is love? See, I don't
What
think
is
that love
love?
is a feeling. I think love is care in action. Love is care. And I think that part of what happens in a breakdown is that sometimes people feel like they love you in their heart, but they don't know how to give care.
Well,
And
love is the light that comes from God. Only God has love. And when we return to the Father, we have God's love. It's not a feeling, it's a light unto your feet. It's life. It's lighting up the soul to give you peace and all the good things.
yeah. So I think that love is also the ability to give levels of care, to give care, to expand your identity, to be inclusive of others. And so in that way, it requires us to actively grow ourselves in the direction of empathy and compassion.
But see, that's the difference between the way women think and the way men think, right? In perfect love, there is no compassion, there is no empathy. Love is dispassionate. But in the fake love, it's empathy and it's compassion. It's all that crap that destroys rather than gives life.
Well, let's talk about what empathy is, right? So empathy, how do you define empathy?
Um, when you have real love, you don't have any anger toward anybody because you understand what's driving them and that they cannot help themselves. So you don't take it personal, and that prevents you from judging them.
How would you define empathy?
Empathy is a fake emotion, and it's based on feeling and how the person react to the feeling. If you show compassion and they show it back, then you feel good about it. But if you
Uh-huh.
show compassion and they don't show it back, now you're feeling anger and resentment because they seem to be
Mm.
selfish.
Wow. I don't know. I think we're defining things somewhat differently. So empathy to me is the ability to be present with someone and to get so in their world, in what their experience is, that it creates a feeling of togetherness, that
See,
we're
that's the
together.
problem. When you go into somebody else's world, they're living in hell. You're going to catch hell too.
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about going down into the
The
to
person.
to the bottom of the pool with people. Sometimes you have to really hold the light for people. You're holding a space in God. I mean, I sit with people who are in great suffering with conscious uncoupling because there's very few traumas in life like the trauma of being left by someone you have loved and given yourself to and maybe had children with. I mean, it's quite traumatic for people. So to sit there, they feel like, they're nothing. They've been rejected, they're unwanted, they're unloved. And to be with that person and know what, you're present to what they're feeling, but you know the truth about them is that they're surrounded by love, that they are made from love, that this is something that they will recover from, and you're going to help them to go through the steps of recovery so that they can come out the other side even more capable of love than they were
Amazing.
before.
That's amazing. Because of time, you're so interesting. We have to move a little faster. So much I want to ask you about.
Okay.
So, were you were married to a black man at one time?
Yes, my husband is a black man.
I'm sorry to hear that. How did that happen? You went from bad to worse.
You are so funny. He's a wonderful man. I was so blessed and
Are
fortunate.
you a white woman?
I am.
What you doing with a black man? What the?
I I loved his heart. I still do love his heart. He's a gorgeous man. He's a
But
deep
if you
spiritual
love his
man.
heart and he has such a good heart, why aren't you still with him?
We grew apart, Jesse, and I think that that does happen. When the happily ever after myth was created, the lifespan was less than 40 years of age. So we live very long lives. The statistically, as much as we still love happily ever after and believe in one person that we pledge ourselves to, statistically, the majority of us here will have 2 to 3 significant relationships in our lifetime.
Wow.
Are you married?
No,
You're not married, a
no.
handsome, beautiful man like you?
Well, I unfortunately made a child out of wedlock, and I was going to get married, but you know how women act all nice while you're dating? They pretend that they agree with you. "Oh, you're so wonderful. I love your work." And as soon as you get engaged, they try to control you. And when I saw that side of her, I decided, this ain't going to work. You know
Mm,
how women love to control others, right?
isn't that human? Don't we all love to control others?
No, men don't try to control.
Oh no.
They're naturally
Okay.
in control. So I gotta ask you. So your daughter
Yes,
is biracial?
she is.
Oh man,
And then I have an African American daughter who's actually also biracial, but she's identifies as African American. She's my bonus daughter.
Meaning that your boyfriend already had a child?
No, I just she was my daughter's best friend in high school, and her
Oh,
mom left when she was young, and I just scooped her into our family because her dad has some health issues.
oh, I see. And your boyfriend now, is he black or white?
He's white,
Oh, thank God.
back where I belong.
That's right. You back home. No
I'm
wonder
back
you're so
home.
happy.
Oh
G-
my.
So I want to ask you about real fast about this uncoupling, the
Yeah.
conscious uncoupling, and it's also another New York Times bestseller. In a
Yeah.
few words or less, because I have so much to talk to you about, what is uncoupling exactly?
Well, it's a breakup. So whether that's divorce because you were married or it's just a breakup with someone you were going with for a while and had a relationship, or even just a big disappointment in dating. It's how to do that well in a way that leaves your heart whole and complete, where you're
Oh,
not,
okay.
you're not wanting to lash out, you're not going to do damage to yourself or the other person. And certainly if there's kids involved. So people behave in ways that generate cohesion, goodwill, respect, and in ways that really validate the value of the connection even as they're leaving it.
Nice. And so, when this actress, Gwyneth, what's her name?
Gwyneth
When
Paltrow.
did she
Yeah.
accidentally run up on the book? How did she?
She was, before the book was written, I had been teaching people. I teach online.
Uh-huh.
So I have courses online, and I'd had about 1,000 people through a program. And for conscious uncoupling, I was just piloting it. And there was a gentleman who was following my work, and he was counseling her. So he brought
Oh,
my work to her.
oh, I got it. And she
Yeah.
used that when she and Chris
Yeah.
Martin divorced, right?
She did. And people love, excuse me, my, it was ice cube,
Yeah, no
ice
problem.
cubes. I
No
got
problem.
stuck in my mouth. Yes, she did. And people love to make fun of Gwyneth. So a lot of people were making fun and stuff, but it stuck, because there's a lot of wisdom to it. There's no reason to harm each other, to go to war. People do all sorts of bad things at the
Yeah,
end of a relationship,
yeah.
behave very badly. Divorce is a $50 billion a year industry in the United States alone,
What a
and
mess.
a lot of damage is done. So this is an alternative about how to deal with all those really big feelings that come up, and the anger and the fear and all of that, and how to stay centered, how to act in alignment with your values.
Nice.
And it's a lot of Christians watching today, so it's how to show up in a way that has integrity between you and God. You're not
Yeah,
going to act out of those emotions, that anger, and but yet what to do with it, what to do with those feelings, and how to see your part, and how to make amends, and how to use the shattering that you're experiencing as a time of great growth and
nice.
transformation and maturing. A lot of people really spiritually mature quite a bit during a breakup.
Um, oh, I've always heard that once you go black, you can't go back. How were you able to go back? That's what all the women want to know. How were you able to go back once you went black?
Well, it was a great joy to be with my husband, but I'm pretty happy with my guy now. So it was not a big transition,
Uh,
really. But that had several years between. I had a lot of work to do. I had a
yeah.
lot of examining of my own part in that. I didn't go right from one relationship to another, but I feel very fortunate to be with the man I'm with.
What is a man?
What is a man? Ooh, well, this particular man, I mean, he's my rock. He is just solid. He is unbelievably supportive, and he's kind of a pillar of strength and goodness. I love his values. So men are powerful protectors. Men are powerful implementers. They create gorgeous things in the world.
Amazing. And one last thing about that. So you're married, you're living with a white man now. You got these two black babies. How does he deal with that?
Oh, he loves it. He has a black goddaughter. So
What
it's like a
the?
match made in heaven because his best friend in high school was a black man, black kid, adolescent, had a baby and died of a drug overdose. So Michael stepped in and he helped with the grandmother to co-raise that daughter. So he has a black goddaughter. So we look like a perfect family.
So has he ever dated a black woman?
Oh, I don't think he has.
Oh,
That's interesting.
God bless him, huh?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
So I got to put you on the hot seat.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, oh, just now you're putting me on the hot seat like I haven't been on the hot seat with you. Okay.
and I need you to
Okay,
answer
I'm
these.
fastening my seatbelt right now. Go for it.
So I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right.
The hot seat.
Well, Albert asked, but what is love?
You did ask that already.
Yeah.
I see it's care in action. It's the expansion of one's identity to include others, and it's love.
Did you
It's
vote?
care in action.
Did you vote for the Great White Hope?
A great white hope. Are we talking about Mr. Trump?
Yes.
No, I did
We are
not.
going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
No, Jesse, I'm the opposite of you. I'm a big fan. I'm a Democrat.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
a big
sorry to
fan.
hear that.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
used to be one too, but God
I
forgave me.
know. I read that. I read that about you.
I understand your pain.
I'm actually happy with many things that are happening right now. Moving in a new direction.
Do you like the critical race theory stuff they're teaching?
I think it's important that we all really look at what happened the way it happened in order to grow. It's like what they're doing in Germany, Jesse, where the kids are learning about the Holocaust as a prevention for that happening in the future. So I don't think that people would feel bad about being white, but I think that, it's important for us to understand that there's something happening where we're needing to make the playing field more equal.
Would it surprise you that I grew up on a plantation in Alabama under the Jim Crow laws, and those things that the blacks are pretending are issues now were never an issue growing up? The blacks are lying.
I think you surprise a lot of people. I think you surprise a lot of people, and I know you're writing books about your experience
Yeah,
and really sharing about your experience, and I would imagine it takes a lot of courage to be you.
because I don't like the fact that they're blaming white people for being losers. The blacks are losers because they don't have family, they don't believe in God. The men are weak, the women are angry and out of control.
Well,
And
I think what
instead
you're
of getting that
responding
together the way they did when I was growing up, they're blaming the white man. What the?
yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Any kind of victimization, if you're getting overly identified with being a victim, you can't change.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my heroes is a Palestinian gentleman. His name is, of course, escaping me in this very moment.
Right.
But he's Palestinian, and he's really working with other Palestinians to say, look, you've got to really rise out of victimization if you want
Absolutely.
anything to change. So I think that we're both on the same side. We disagree about certain political stances, but I think that I'm with you on that.
So why don't the white people give the blacks the finger and tell them to go get a life and stop begging?
Well, I do think that there's a lot of white folks who are needing to take a lead in the move towards equality and becoming more conscious of privilege,
Being more honest to the blacks,
being
right?
more honest. I think
And
it's
telling them
a
how the cow
co-create.
ate the cabbage.
Well, I think we all have to grow up and be responsible for the future that we're wanting to create,
Yes.
which is a future of more equality and more self-responsibility, where everybody can, really take responsibility for
Yep,
acting from the highest and the best.
that's right. I digress. I got to put you back on the hot seat.
Okay.
Is America a Christian nation?
I think statistically we would say yes,
What is a
but I don't think that we agree on what being a Christian means. I
Well,
think
we'll
that-
have to have you back for that one.
yeah. I
What
think
is a silver seeker?
what kind of seeker?
Silver, Silver.
Silver. Oh, a silver seeker. That's a term that they use in the dating world for people who I think are over 60 and looking for love.
So old people look for love?
Oh yeah, it's a huge industry. It's one of the biggest dating markets that there are now are silver seekers.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that.
There's hope for you yet, Jesse. You're gonna find
Evidently. Do you support the Second Amendment?
guns.
The Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, remind me.
It's right, the right to bear arms.
Yeah, ooh, I have a aversion to guns, so I'm a big supporter of gun control.
Should Black Americans get reparations?
Yes, I do believe that Black Americans should get reparations.
Amazing. Do you
Yeah.
prefer alpha male or beta male?
I think I'm a big beta girl, but I do have a man who is an alpha as well as a beta. He's both.
Should transgender be allowed in women's sports?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I'm kind of a yes to that. I know there's complexity there, but yes.
Is it ever okay to tell the woman she's fat?
Maybe if you're her doctor.
Oh,
There was an old New Yorker cartoon where this woman walks in and says to her husband, "Does my body make me look fat?" He better say no.
amazing.
He better say no. You look fabulous.
Amazing. Do you love white people?
Yeah, I love all people.
Do you love white people?
Yes.
Did you have fun?
Yes, you're a ton of fun.
Thank
You're
you
a ton
so
of
much
fun.
for coming on. I appreciate that. Tell the folks how to get your books, how to get to your counseling service, whatever you're
you.
doing.
Thank you. KatherineWoodwardThomas.com. Just sign up to be on the Love Out Loud list, which is where once a week I give you a teaching on love to help you expand your heart and grow your capacity to be happy in love.
Katherine, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. Me too. Me too. I was a little nervous talking to you, but you're awesome.
Thank you so much. And God bless you. And we'll talk again, all right?
Good. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. I totally appreciate it. Don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, share, ring the bell, check out the merch, and Patreon. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching The Fallen State. We need your continued support. Donate to my nonprofit here. Subscribe and like the videos here. And tell everybody and their mama about the show. Thank you, Katherine. That was fun.
You're a ton of fun. You take good care, and I look forward to next time.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thanks
again.
for
Have a
having
good
me.
one. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now. Bye.
Bye.